innovation needs to come from grassroots because it has to be sustainable.
Welcome to Technovation. I'm your host, Peter High. My guest today is Dham Pathervellai. Dham is the Chief Technology Officer of Ingram Micro, a leading technology distributor and platform business that connects technology manufacturers and cloud providers with a wide network of resellers and businesses worldwide and earns in excess of $48 billion in annual revenue. Dham has been the CTO for about 8 months, and he's been with Ingram Micro for a bit more than 3 years. As CTO, he leads all global technology, systems, engineering, and enterprise architecture. As a technology leader in a fundamentally tech-centric enterprise, I'm interested in learning more about how he engages his peers, who in many cases are Ingram Micro's customers. I also look forward to hearing more about how the company is making a move towards becoming a platform-driven enterprise, and I wonder what role he and his team are playing in that transformation, among other sources of innovation that he and his team are driving. Dham, welcome to Technovation. It's great to speak with you today.
Thank you, Peter. Great to be here.
Well, I thought we'd begin, Dham, with an overview of Ingram Micro's business, if you wouldn't mind providing some context as to the business you're in. Could you do that, please?
Sure. Ingram Micro, it's the brand behind the brands. We have 1,500 vendor partners. You name Apple to Samsung to Amazon to Microsoft, you name anything, any technology providers. They are our bigger vendor partners. And globally, we have 160,000 customers. And we operate in sales in 200 countries and operate in like 50 plus countries. And the biggest thing is we touch almost 90% of the world's population. And that's what Ingram Micro does.
Remarkable, the scale and the scope of an organization like yours. Thank you for that context, Dham. How about your role as Chief Technology Officer? As there are no two CTO roles that are exactly alike, I'd love to hear more about yours.
Absolutely. I'm very humbled to lead such an organization like Ingram Micro. And I'm sure you met our president of our global platforms, Sanjeev Sahu, and he leads our global platform group. Under him, there are platform business, platform operations, and platform marketing. And one of the pillar is global platform technology. So I'm part of that group, and I lead all global engineering, our corporate and regional applications, and our enterprise architecture. So if you take our global platform engineering group, you heard a lot about Xvantage. You can see my pin about Xvantage. And that group is what completely responsible for building our Xvantage platform. That's our global engineering, which is across the globe. Then we have our corporate and our regional applications group. You can name from anything from SAP to all the financial applications, everything what needed to run our organization across the corporate and the regions and the countries, and that team takes care of them. And the third, the near and dearest to my heart, which is the enterprise architecture group. They are our backbone, and they're the one who provides all kind of solutions and technologies. They are like tip of our spear, and they go and they come back with all kind of cool stuff, how we should build the organization and our platform. So that's the third one, which is our enterprise architecture. That's why my group is organized, Peter. I joined Ingram Micro about 3 years ago. I joined for only one reason: to make Ingram as a platform company. And that's our company's vision. And if you take our mission, it's like we will just try to continue to push boundaries to make Ingram as a platform company. Ingram is an amazing 45-year-old company. And when you have an ability to touch 90% of the population, and when you go and you try to go and help and accelerate that innovation, what the company needs, and then the technology, what we have, we really want to position our company for a long-term success. That's my core responsibility, Peter.
Talk a bit more, if you would, to the move to a platform-driven enterprise, if you will, and what that means in terms of how the organization itself is changing, the kinds of skills that it brings within the organization or trains for, as the case may be. Talk a bit about the broader implications of this change.
Absolutely, Peter. When you look at Ingram Micro, like I said, it's a $45 billion company with a $50 billion in revenue and across 50 some countries. We started our digital transformation 3 years ago. which we started Xvantage. And when we started, we realized there is no playbook to change and transform such a large company with such a large footprint. So what we did was first, like I said, Ingram Micro is an amazing people company. That's one of the reasons I joined. And the second ingredient is to transform such a large organization to a platform company is the culture. Now we have to create a different culture to become from a traditional distribution company to become a platform company. So for that, what you need to do is you gotta let people try and fail and learn. Because like I said, there is no playbook to transform such a large company with such a large footprint. What do? You have to create a culture. You have to say, it's okay to try, it's okay to fail, but as long as you're willing to learn from it. So when you create that level of culture, then that will just liberate your teams. When they get liberated, they're going to try something new. It's the same from going from a normal approach to, I can try multiple things, I can fail, I can learn. Once you create that kind of a culture, that really creates a completely new energy inside the organization. And guess what that energy did in a couple of years? Now we have 4 platforms, 20-some engines, 32 million lines of code, and 300 AI models, like 4 petabytes of our data mesh, 30-some patent spending, and we're in 20-some countries. And that is exactly what we started doing here in Ingram Micro, Peter. Like where we're trying to go from is from a traditional distribution to become a platform company. That's our path. And I can tell you, this is just not about cool technology. And we have a very strong ethos and principle that don't develop anything unless until it makes value. It creates value for the organization. I mean, I tell my engineers all the time, please don't write any code if it doesn't make money. And, I was an engineer. I've done a lot of stuff in my life. My life got changed when I started asking the question that how much money it's going to make. And once it's part of the culture. And once you start doing it, and this technology just not only, it sounds cool and it's cutting edge, even with the neck-breaking speed we went, Peter. What we got was 3 design awards from an organization called IF Design. That's a 70-some-year-old organization. And they got 11,000 people submission or something from 66 countries. And our teams won the best user experience award for our mobile app, for our recommendations, and our email to order functionalities. So it's, like I said, yes, you got to move fast, but at the same time, you got to keep your customer at heart. And that was testament to it. I mean, our teams, we got an amazing UI UX team with our product team. They got something really, they put us on the map. And every time you say you're a technology company, but when you got the same awards as Google's and Meta, and you belong to that group, and that's what we are trying to take. I'll give you one last example about that innovation. What you're trying is what we call as an intelligent data assistant, where you really want to go from order takers to order makers. Ingram was in a business where we used to process a lot of orders for customers, but now we want to go from order takers to order makers. What we did was this intelligent data assistant, one of our business asked us, hey, let's go grow top line revenue. Okay, great. We're not going to build a product for that. What we did was we just listened to them, and literally we just assembled such a small team, and we said, okay, let's go understand the business problem and put science on top and see, can you solve this problem, what they're asking for, just to improve quote to order conversion. Because imagine when you talk about such a large company, and anybody who manages an account, they're going to have thousands of interactions. They need to help their customers. But which one you're supposed to be proactively reaching out to them to make your customer life easy. So we took the business problem, we applied our science on top with our AI models. Guess what happened? It brought up hundreds and hundreds of millions of revenue year over year, and it made our customer happy, going from order takers to order makers and quote to cash.
Dham, you're alluding to some topics that certainly center around innovation. And I wondered if you could talk a bit about your philosophy in terms of sources of innovation across an enterprise as vast as yours is. Talk a bit about that if you would.
Any business you take, if a technology doesn't bring value, then there is no point in having the technology. And this IDA, which is our intelligent assistant, which was built on our data mesh, like it just brought up money straight up. And just going back to your original question, innovation needs to come from grassroots because it has to be sustainable. And we built our platforms and engines over 3 years, and it's continued to innovate because the innovation, what the people who does, and they have a culture to continue to go, and we encourage that culture where it's a grassroots innovation so that this innovation can be sustainable, Peter.
Fascinating, Dham. Thank you so much for sharing a bit more about that transformation. I want to return to a point you made at the outset, which was the tip of your spear is the EA group, and you referred to it as the backbone of the organization. EA is a set of practices that I think most scaled organizations have now employed. But I'd be curious about how you see its evolution. You speak of it as a great source of strength and power for the organization. Why is that? Dive into that a little bit further, if you would.
Great question. That's very dear to my heart. Because when you understanding the business problem, when a technologist, they cannot, like I tell my EA architecture team, you just cannot draw boxes and arrows and say, here is my solution, please go implement. Now, unless until your architecture makes money, then you have not done with your responsibility. And that's a core principle of that architectural team. So what they do is they work with the business, like intelligent data assistant case. First, what they do is they just come up with a solution. How do you even approach this problem? Because I'm sure every time you go to a meeting, everybody says, oh, let's take AI and solve this problem, right? So somebody has to break all that myth and bring reality to the table. That's our enterprise architecture team. And also they have another big responsibility of what should be in the enterprise. Because when you talk about 50 plus countries and everybody wants to buy everything possible in this world, and they create that standard to say, this is something what we as an organization, we should have a standardization of buying tools or using tools or even using something or building something inside. They define all that standard and they manage and maintain our technology governance mode because they have a big responsibility of any dollar before it is spent, it has to go through their approval process because they got this view of end-to-end across all countries and they look at through from that lens. And when that governance is applied, then you're not wasting money, right? So you really need a gatekeeper up at the front. And these boys and girls, they up there and they just enjoy this process because what they are doing is you're not going to have thousands and thousands of technology, but you're going to have a certain piece of technology which allows you to drive your organization towards your platform company. If that's your vision, is everybody what they're asking, is that going to solve our problem? And that's what they do.
Very interesting. Again, appreciate you sharing a bit more about the context there as to why that is such a source of strength for the organization. I know from our past conversations, Dham, as well, that you've described aspects of your philosophy relative to technology as come as you are. And I wonder if you can kind of describe what's meant by that and the power of that perspective, please.
Yes. I believe we've done digital transformation. Like last 3 years, what we created was our digital backbone. So I'll give you one flashback, Peter, like in 2020 during COVID. And the companies which had a good digital backbone, like Netflix, like the Amazon, and they grew in multiple folds because they had a good backbone to capitalize on the demand, and the surge was what came through in 2020. So fast forward, now what we are in is this digital transformation to an AI transformation. If you want to go from a digital transformation to an AI transformation, that's an era where we are in. the companies which has got a good digital backbone, who has done the real good technology as their foundation and fundamental architecture and their data foundation, who really got that, and they are going to ride the wave so easily in coming years. And if you look at us, and we launched Xvantage in June 2022, and we built our data lake then. And we built our data lake, then we built our purposive data stores, and we created our data mesh to power our first recommendation engine in June 2022. And that is the backbone where we started our thought process with. And when we talk about it, like our core principle was like data, engine, and experience. Like I said, Ingram is a very large company. You can name any database you got, and we got it. And we built our data model and our data science way back then. And this over the years, what we built, now we believe we got an amazing backbone for us to ride the AI wave, what we are all talking about right now. And that example, come as you are, that's an absolute testament to that backbone what we have. Because if you go back in any businesses, it's a B2B or B2C, one of the most complicated problem is the traditional integration. Our sales teams will go get hundreds of millions of dollars of a deal, and they will say, okay, let's go transact. And the first thing they will say, oh, hold on, we got to integrate. They got an API, I got an EDI, they got a flat file. Let's go make this integration work. That's the biggest problem every company faces, not just B2B and B2C. It's a very traditional problem. It wasn't a problem there wasn't a point or technology to solve it. Now, just because our digital backbone, what we have, our data mesh and our data platforms and all the engines and platforms we have, we were able to tell our customers, please come as you are. You don't have to change a thing. We will build, you can scale. That was birth of our XI, which is Xvantage integrations. Now customers can take and plug in what we provided, like for a Salesforce, they can install it in 5 minutes, Peter, to connect into Xvantage. And that plugin is completely wired with all the way to backbone of ours through our AI. Any data the customer is going to give, we will transform by ourselves. We don't want them to change anything. And when you go with that approach of come as you are, all of a sudden, what was not possible before, it has become so easy. It took months. Now we are talking minutes. And when you do that, in our opinion, what we have seen is we made our customer life so easy, and that just started changing the business model, the way how companies operate. And I'll give you one more example that's really exciting even more, is email to order. It's very common in the B2B industry that people send you email, I want 100 laptops. And you can only imagine, it could be a PDF, it could be an Excel, it could be a flat file that's just a plain text in Spanish. We said, no problem. We got technology to process that kind of an order format coming through, no problem. We got it. And that's, again, it's because it's possible on the backbone what we have, it was so easy to put our AI agents on top of the data mesh what we have. That's fine. You're just giving me one more level of data in a different format, no problem. And we just transform the data into the standard format what Ingram would understand. We didn't enforce that standardization back to the customer and asking them to go change their system and their change processes now. Please keep your system and processes as it is. Just come as you are. We will build. You can scale.
Yeah, fascinating. Amazing that how the foundation that you laid is now parlayed in so many different areas to derive value for the organization. I wanted to also ask you, you mentioned at the outset, 160,000 customers, 200 countries, massive tech leaders like Apple and Microsoft, among others. Oftentimes, as you're collaborating with them, it's peers of yours, people who run technology for those organizations who are customers or points of contact. And I wonder, how do you collaborate with them and perhaps derive inspiration from those conversations, given the benefit you have of speaking with so many leading technology organizations as well?
Yeah, we were in, we meet at least, I would say every week, every other week, we meet all these technology leaders and all, like we are in a two-sided marketplace, right? Because, take Microsoft, we are the number one distributor for them in terms of distribution side. On the customer side, like we are a Microsoft shop. We use all the way up till Copilot now. So when you're in there, and it is so easy to, when you go talk to them and you will understand what they're doing. And we started, like we were in meeting with them in Seattle a couple of weeks ago, and we shared our technology roadmap and they shared their technology roadmap and see how we overlap and where we can benefit from each other. And one other vendor was with us a week ago. We're talking about how we can take their data and use what we call as our integrated purpose of data store with their data on top of our AI model to bring in recommendation for our customers. And now that data, what was existing in their system, once you talk technology to technology people, and they will understand, okay, I have a database, I got a bunch of data of renewal. Can you please use that in your recommendation engine to improve an attach rate? And that conversations will start coming and popping up when you start talking to your peer group on the other side, because it was so easy for you to talk in technical terms with them. And we enjoy those conversations with them all the time. And we learn quite a lot from each other and we get inspired by each other.
Very remarkable. What an advantage, certainly. I wonder, are there other trends that excite you, Dham, as you look to the future? What else is making its way on your roadmap that you might underscore?
Yeah, for us, we believe agentic AI and agentic workforce is going to take a big leap in coming months and years. Because when we as an engineer, I'll give you my perspective as an engineer, like the code, what we started writing now, it's getting better. And before, imagine there was a junior developer who's sitting and writing a code, and there is a senior developer needs to come and help. Now that role can be played by an AI, and the code review can be done by an AI, and the quality of the code is going to improve so much. That's going to bring down your incidents, your bug fix, your customer churn, customer ticket, like the amount of impact what it's going to have, it is going to be remarkable in my opinion. And we started doing a lot of work on that side of the world. To me, maybe sometimes we will be asked every time you open a position or a rec, can this be done by AI? Expect those kind of questions coming in the future. And the second example, Peter, is like rapid prototyping. I always say that, in the traditional development, what we do is shift left. Like you go talk to your customers, you talk to your associates, understand what do they do or what do they want. And then you come back, you do a solution, epics, stories, your development, UAT, you go live. That's usually what people do. But in the era of AI transformation, you got to go shift right. Because everybody is going to come with so many ideas and so many thoughts. Is that even possible? Means you got to go shift right when the data is going to be dynamic, where you don't know that data will, what do you want? What do you think? Can your AI model give that? You don't know. If that's the case, please go shift right and prove that theory with like small iterations, what you can do within your group, with your business folks. Get that one done. And when that is working, then go shift left, and weave that into your product strategy. So we learned that in a hard way. And to me, I think that is the way even development approach and the methodology to how we do, that is changing. And, to me, like before, if you want to do a POC and you want to dedicate a bunch of developers and they're trying to go, in a silo and they're trying to do stuff, they will do exactly the way they did development before. The time it takes is exactly same as what it is. But that code can be a production-ready code, maybe may not be, right? Most of the time, it might be a throwaway code, what they spend. Imagine you can build your rapid prototype through AI quickly, and you can prove your concept so quickly. You may want to use the code in production, you may don't want to use the code in production, but that's okay. But you didn't spend as much as time writing that code. Like I have seen one of the technology we were trying, one of the developers showed me, Dham, just look at this page. It's got a, a web page with a bunch of radio buttons. And she said, Dham, just watch. All that's going to turn into a checkbox. Literally, she gave a prompt, enter, refresh the page, all that become a checkbox. That's rapid prototyping. If you can prove your concept as quick as possible using technology, then the amount of software is going to get created and a quality software is going to get created. It's going to multiply, Peter. And I'm more excited about the quality of the product, what's going to come out, because now you've got a lot more technology can tell you before even you go to production, it does an amazing code review. That's nothing like it. So to me, that's really excites how this is going to evolve in coming years.
Yeah, fascinating to see. We'll be interested in seeing how agentic AI and this agentic workforce continue to evolve in an environment like yours, among others as well. Thank you for those insights. I wanted to ask you before I let you go, Dham, anything you've recently read, watched, and or listened to that you'd recommend to others?
Of course, I'm a big believer in giving back to people. When you're a leader, you've gone through so many things to get to the point where you are. Always, please give back to people. And my give back to this community is atomic habits. Humans are creatures of habits, and small things and how that multiplies in a cumulative way over the period of time, it is tremendous. I've given that to my kid. I'm sure he enjoyed that. And I can tell you that is something that you should really, if you haven't read it, please do. Even if you pick up one small habit which can shape up your life, it's nothing like it. I would end with one warning: snake oil in the eye. I go to so many meetings and I hear so many people every other time you talk about a problem, people will say, oh, let's go do that with AI. So that's, to me, that just a warning sign. I would give it to you. Just please watch out for that. And unless until anything brings value, please don't do that. And just go, like I said, just go use Agentic AI. There's so many models available. Do some prototyping through those, ideas, and just kill those snake oil ideas.
Any habits you formed after reading James Clear's book that you highlight?
Absolutely. It was I did this years ago, but one vivid memory I have is during COVID. Like that time you can't go to a gym and whatnot. So what I started doing was I go watch one YouTube video every time I work out. I go watch a TED Talk. So invariably of topic, Peter. Like one day it could be about science, one day it just could be about a kid traveled around the world by the time they're in their 20s. Like I started, listening to this. All of a sudden, when you're a leader, when you hear so many thoughts around so many topics, like you actually hear technologies, you want to read about technology. But, I started and that whole year, I'm sure I watched at least one TED Talk for 20 minutes every time I worked out in the basement. And the amount of knowledge it gave me, that was tremendous.
I imagine. Well, Dham, thank you so much for a terrific conversation. It's been fascinating to learn more from you about the remarkable transformation you've helped lead, and now the tremendous value the organization is deriving from that transformation. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for the opportunity.